Good morning. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. I'm Chief Vito Sinopoli with the Bath Township Police Department. And with me today are Attorney General Dave Yost, his Press Secretary Steve Irwin, John Smurglia with the ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Ann Murphy with the U.S. Marshals Service, Dave Laughlin, Captain with the Akron Police Department, Mark Kohler with BCI, Chief Rob Campbell. I also want to recognize the BCI team who was here working nonstop. That would be Matt Armstrong, BCI Special Agent Supervisor with the Ohio Attorney General's Office, Nick Valente, Corey Momchalov, Austin Fedchuk, Andy Harmashuk, John Lieber with BCI, and anyone else who I may have forgotten. Our Bath detectives, Rob Young and Dan Riley. Also want to recognize two of our trustees here today, Sharon Troike and Sean Gaffney, Captain Steve Brown, and members of our police department, also Sergeant Kevin Motes and Patrolman Lee Oubre, who are here today as well. We're here today to announce a significant development in the investigation of the tragic shooting that occurred on November 2nd on Top of the Hill Drive in Bath Township. Since that morning, investigators with the Bath Township Police Department and the Bureau of Criminal Investigation have been working tirelessly on this complex and challenging case. Our teams conducted extensive witness interviews, collected and processed large amounts of evidence, and followed numerous investigative leads. All available resources from the Bath Township Police Department and the Bureau of Criminal Investigation were used in connection with the investigation of this case. The involvement of BCI expanded our forensic support, specialized investigative resources, and greater technical capacity for evidence processing. This partnership proved invaluable as investigators worked through ballistic evidence, digital data, witness testimony, and other critical leads. As a result of this tremendous effort by the investigative team, 3 suspects were identified and several arrests have been made. Investigators from the Bath Township Police Department, Akron Police Department, ATF, and the U.S. Marshals first located and arrested 18-year-old Derquan Edwards at a residence in New Philadelphia on November 14th. That arrest stemmed from an Akron Police Department investigation of the theft of a firearm. Information and evidence obtained through the investigation substantiated investigators' beliefs that Edwards was a participant in the Bath Township November 2nd shooting. In addition, a juvenile was present with Derquan Edwards at the time of the arrest in New Philadelphia. This second suspect, a 16-year-old male, was arrested on November 19th on charges related to the Bath Township shooting. He's currently being held in the juvenile detention facility in the city of Akron. On November 18th, 2025, a third suspect identified by investigators was arrested. 19-year-old Jashawn Stewart was arrested by the Akron Police Department in connection with a vehicle pursuit and arrest where a firearm was recovered. He's also a subject in 2 additional shooting incidents in a stolen vehicle investigation. A firearm was recovered from the vehicle at the time of the arrest. After a review of the evidence and meetings with the City of Akron prosecutor and representatives from the Summit County Prosecutor's Office, including the Juvenile Division, criminal charges were authorized. As of this morning, the following charges have been filed. Derquan Edwards, 18 years of age, has been charged with 1 count of murder and 9 counts of felonious assault. A 16-year-old male was charged with 1 count of delinquency to commit murder and 9 counts of delinquency to commit felonious assault. Jashawn Stewart, 19 years of age, has been charged with 1 count of murder and 9 counts of felonious assault. All the charges filed include firearm specifications. It is anticipated that additional charges will be filed at a later date. As a reminder, charges are criminal allegations and defendants are presumed to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. This investigation remains active and ongoing, and we continue to pursue additional leads in this case, and our investigators are committed to ensuring that every person responsible for the shooting is held accountable. I want to take a moment to once again thank all of our mutual aid law enforcement partners for their assistance throughout this case. to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the U.S. Marshal Service, ATF, the Akron Police Department, Copley PD, Cuyahoga Falls PD, Fairlawn PD, the Summit County Sheriff's Department, and Richfield Village PD, as well as many fire EMS departments that responded to provide assistance that morning. An incident of this magnitude required collaboration and coordination across multiple agencies, and their support was vital to getting us to this point. More importantly, their professionalism and courage made a difference during a time of tremendous chaos and heartbreak. To arrive at this point in this complex investigation in less than 3 weeks is a testament to the work ethic, professionalism, and commitment to justice of our investigative team. Also, the emotional weight to first responders related to an incident this serious can have a dramatic effect on them. And I want to thank representatives of the Assist 77 team who are part of the Summit County Safety Forces Support Center who provided peer support to many of our first responders. We also want to express our continued commitment to justice for the victims and their families in this tragic incident, for those who were injured, and for Elijah Wells, whose life was tragically lost in this shooting. Our thoughts remain with all those who sustained injuries and with the family of Elijah Wells, several members, including his mother, who are here in the audience today. We understand that they're experiencing unimaginable grief. On a positive note, I'm pleased to report that 2 adults who remained hospitalized were discharged yesterday from local hospitals, and we wish them the very best in their recovery. Bath Township continues to take proactive steps to address concerns related to short-term rentals. We've reached out to the Summit County officials to consider drafting legislation that would impose both civil and criminal penalties for violations associated with short-term rentals. In addition, we've spoken with our local state legislator and asked him to oppose Senate Bill 104, currently being considered, which would limit local regulation in short-term rentals and hinder our ability to protect our residential neighborhoods. We're also working closely with our Bath Township Zoning Department to incorporate additional language into the zoning resolution to strengthen our ability to enforce existing regulations. Although townships currently have very limited authority, primarily civil remedies, to address violations, we are committed to using every tool available to provide clarity, uphold our standards, and maintain the character of our community. We will continue to update residents and the media of these efforts advance. In the aftermath of this shooting and subsequent arrests by our investigators and partnering agencies, I want to take this moment to speak directly to our community, especially to parents and those who are standing in the shoes of parents. As this incident has shown, the choices young people make, the company they keep, and the influences around them can have a serious and lasting consequence on them. We urge parents and other adults who may find themselves serving in a parenting role to remain actively engaged in your children's lives. Know where they are, who they're associating with, and what they're viewing and posting on social media. These platforms can amplify conflicts, create unsafe connections, and contribute to risky behavior if left unmonitored. Your involvement is one of the most effective tools we have in preventing violence and helping our youth make responsible and well-informed decisions. By staying connected and aware, we can work together to protect our children and strengthen the safety of our entire community. We appreciate the community's cooperation throughout this investigation and remain committed to doing everything possible to ensure the well-being of our residents and those who visit our community. Thank you. Mr. Yost.
Thank you, Chief Sinopoli, for your work. You're hosting us today, and congratulations on breaking this case. Today's announcement probably should begin with thinking about what got us here. A young man with his whole life ahead of him was killed in a senseless act of violence. My heart goes out to his family. I want to thank his family for their patience and their trust that justice would come. So many others were that impacted that night, and my thoughts and prayers are with them as they recover, recognizing that even if bodies heal, the wounds to the soul will remain for the rest of their lives. As a society, we've become accustomed to the idea that crime is solved in 60 minutes with a few breaks for commercials. The popular show 48 Hours emphasizes the solvability of homicide diminishes after the first 2 days or so. And while that's partially true, the first few hours of a homicide investigation are in fact crucial, which is why we lean heavily on BCI's crime scene unit to expertly gather information and process scenes. The fruits of today's announcement are the product of 3 investments in law enforcement long before this incident occurred. In early 2022, I directed BCI to expand its NIBIN capabilities to provide almost instantaneous ballistic evidence comparison for every law enforcement agency in Ohio. NIBIN is the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, a database of firearms casings that allows investigators to compare cartridges from one scene to another. I directed BCI not only to invest in the technology, but the people that would run the machines and do the analysis, to forge new connections with the federal government that hosts the database. Our experts who worked this case quickly input the ballistic evidence in this case into NIBIN, and using their expertise quickly made correlations on other known shootings. I want to emphasize that it was those experts at BCI doing the work locally, not backlogged through the National Correlation Center, but making correlations right here in Ohio that gave immediate leads to the investigators to pursue. Just 3 years ago, this process would have been slow, clunky, awkward. Now it's a standard practice and is incredibly fast. The second area was DNA. After we began the NIBIN initiative, it became evident that we needed to increase the laboratory's capacity to process DNA from firearms, and particularly from cartridge casings, which is a special thing. It's difficult to do. They're small. They're not flat surfaces. And the process up till that point was a little bit fickle. We invested a lot of time and effort in enhancing our capacity to use DNA, touch DNA analysis from cartridges, not only because of the large number of firearms thefts and offenses, but also my confidence in BCI's laboratory drove me to that decision. And the DNA analysis of cartridges is now almost routine. Our folks at BCI have gotten really good at it. The last thing that we did was corrected a little bit of a challenge that we had. Starting in 2020, we began to be asked more and more frequently to do officer-involved uses of lethal force to provide a thorough, independent, professional investigation. We gladly stepped up to provide that assistance so that local communities could be convinced that this wasn't a DIY kind of investigation of the local police investigating the local police, but that it was independently and fairly done. The challenge, though, was the increase in workload meant that we weren't responding as quickly to cases like this. Under the leadership of Mark Kohler, who's here, and Superintendent Bruce Pijanowski, we reorganized BCI and created a separate force investigation unit to handle those officer-involved incidents and reinvigorate special investigations to do what they do best, which is cases just like this one. And that reinvigorated unit, I think, was key to the results here. BCI is stronger than ever. It's what I call a force multiplier for local law enforcement. We are always available to come in, not to take over. The TV stuff where you see the federal government come in and, fight with the locals about who's got jurisdiction, it doesn't occur in Ohio. We are secondary to local law enforcement. We follow the chief's lead. We follow the local prosecutor's lead. We are a force multiplier for the people that are on the ground, elected by their local communities to do this work, and we're glad to do that. I want to thank our partners in this investigation, obviously Bath Township, Akron Police, ATF, the U.S. Marshals, several others that the chief mentioned. This combined effort has been tireless and is remarkable for the quick break in this. Bottom line is this: if you're going to commit a crime, don't come here. We will do the work, we will find you, and you will be held accountable. That accountability is now up to the court system. We have a very able prosecutor here in Summit County, and I've been proud to work with he and his staff. And I would like to now invite Elliot Kolkovich to come and talk about next steps and what this case will look like.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your work, sir.
Of course, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Elliot Kolkovich, your Summit County prosecutor. I want to thank you all for being here today, and of course offer our condolences to Ms. Wells in the loss of her son, Elijah. I also want to thank Chief Sinopoli. We are here because of Chief Sinopoli's foresight to engage every resource at his disposal. And I want to echo the Attorney General and all the agencies he thanked in his speech, and again thank Chief Sinopoli for all of his work in engaging those resources. Regarding the timeline, all of those charges have been filed locally. At this point, our prosecutors are working with the agencies to gather all of the evidence and reports with an eye towards presenting these cases to a grand jury shortly after Thanksgiving. Regarding the juvenile, that case will go through the process, potentially being bound over to adult court, maybe the end of the year or early in the new year. Again, I would like to thank all of the agencies that the Attorney General mentioned in his remarks for their quick work in this. As Chief Sinopoli said, we are about 3 weeks out, and that is excellent work done by all law enforcement in this matter. Thank you. Chief.
And Mr. Smerglio, would you like to make a few remarks? Sure.
Good morning. Just first and foremost, on behalf of ATF, we'd just like to give our condolences to Mrs. Wells and family. This is what law enforcement is about: partnerships. This is part and parcel as to why we built the new Akron CJIC here in Northern Ohio, to be a part of these types of investigations, to help our local partners, to help our state partners, and other federal partners. So at this time, we'd just like to thank you for the partnership. Glad we could be a part with both of you. Appreciate our investigators and their rapid response, and look forward to attacking violence, continuing to attack violence here in Northern Ohio. As the Attorney General said, and I think we've said this before in other press conferences here, violent crime is not welcome here in Northern Ohio. If you're going to pick up a gun and be a shooter, expect to deal with us. Thank you.
Ms. Murphy with the U.S. Marshals.
We're good, thank you. I think you
Okay,
covered
very good.
everything.
Captain Laughlin, would you like to say any words? Very good. Mr. Collar? Nothing. I'd also like to recognize another one of our elected officials, Trustee Elena Goodrich, who came in, and I would like to see if any of our trustees would like to make any statements. Okay. Ms. Goodrich. Mr. Sean Gaffney.
First of all, sympathy to all the victim families and everyone affected by this. As Chief Sinopoli stated, I am Bath Township Trustee Sean Gaffney, And I want to thank all our first responders, including Bath Police, Bath Fire, Bath Dispatch, mutual aid partners, and all other responding agencies. These men and women dedicate their service to helping and protecting residents. Their training proved invaluable both in safety and in saving lives, and the response was professional and exceptional. Further, I want to thank all the after-incident investigators, these men and women around me. I want to say thank you. And of course, to Bath Police Chief Sinopoli, his invaluable leadership in Bath Township. I can't thank enough. Thank you. And I want to, again, thank our first responders and all the unsung heroes who protect us daily. Thank you.
Trustee Sharon Troike.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here and covering this very important press release conference. I want to, again, echo what so many have said, to thank all of those who played a part in not only the detective work and the end result that we have here today, but thinking about nearly 3 weeks ago, our police officers and our first responders, paramedics, firefighters, running into a situation that was unknown, chaotic at best. And especially for our paramedics who are unarmed, to run into a situation not knowing how many shooters there are, if they were going to be targeted. Thank you to Mr. Husted for supporting us this morning. I want to thank our Detective Bureau, who did an outstanding job working diligently and tirelessly with BCI to bring us to this point. There is someone that we haven't really mentioned specifically. I won't tell you her name, but we have a dispatcher who was on shift by herself that early morning, and she fielded approximately 14 calls by herself within just a matter of minutes, all the while helping to stay in communication with our first responders. I think that's pretty incredible, so I really do want to thank her specifically. I want to tell you all, I want to tell the Wells family, I continue to pray for you in your unimaginable loss, because even though Elijah may have been technically an adult at 18, he'll always be your baby.
Bath Fire Chief Rob Campbell.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. I don't think it can be said enough that our deepest condolences go out to the family of Mr. Wells. No family should have to endure this, and I can't imagine how their lives have been forever changed by that, as well as the many victims who have recovered from their wounds, but will deal with this event long into the future. Bath Township's a small community. Our forces are small, so an incident like this can quickly overwhelm resources. I am extremely thankful for the EMS teams from Richfield, Copley Township, City of Fairlawn, Granger Township, Sharon Township, City of Cuyahoga Falls, City of Akron, City of Norton. They all came to us in our moment of need rapidly, and they all functioned along with our law enforcement partners from all those agencies as one cohesive team. In the lives of the people that made a difference. I would like to sit here and tell you that I celebrate that, we only had one fatality, but that's one fatality too many. So it's hard to celebrate something like that. But we did have a lot of very serious injuries. That number could have been a lot higher, and it was everyone's work that prevented that from being the case. I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate Chief Sinopoli, all the investigators on the case. I have seen firsthand how hard they have worked, and I'm very appreciative and proud of the job that they have done and the conclusion that we've arrived at. Thank you.
Dave. Okay. All right. If there are any questions, I also do want to recognize our officers in the back. I introduced Sergeant Moats, Officer Oubre, and Officer Jason Knauer who came in. It's those individuals who are really, who we need to recognize and appreciate the hard work that they do every day. And I truly am appreciative, so thank you for being here today.
Walk us through exactly what happened that night. Were these suspects in a car that drove by? Were they in the party? What exactly happened leading up to the shooting?
So unfortunately, the investigation remains ongoing and active, so there's not a great deal of information we can share at this point, but we do understand that they did arrive at some point close to the 11 to midnight hour, but beyond that, we can't share a great deal of additional information.
Can you tell us
Yes.
if any particular tips were crucial in identifying any of these three suspects? If so, the reward that was out there, is that going to be handed out? And maybe more of an explanation of how you found them, where you found them.
And so just to clarify with respect to the reward, and I know there was some information regarding Crime Stoppers, and the investigative team had chosen early on to delay the inclusion of Crime Stoppers because they wanted to concentrate most of the tips and information coming to the intel@ohioattorneygeneral.gov line. So I know there was also an ancillary reward that was offered, but that was not by a group affiliated with local Summit County law enforcement, so I'm not sure what the status of that is. But again, the investigation remains ongoing and active, and our investigators are working closely. It was really a collaborative effort among a number of agencies, and but beyond that, I can't really say whether the witnesses were crucial into the conclusion that we came at today.
Did you have any particular evidence from cameras on the scene, road cameras, anything that helped to identify these suspects? Was that kind of technology used?
So obviously, technology played a crucial role in this case, but again, the investigation is active and ongoing, and we do want to, don't risk the jeopardizing the investigation with any information prematurely disseminated. Mr. Nethers?
Yeah, Chief, could you help us once again with the names of Edwards and Stewart, the two individuals, two adults
Yeah.
who were charged?
What information would you like, Dave?
Their names once again.
Okay, it's Dirkwan, and I'll provide the correct spellings of the names for you as well. Dirkwan Stewart, S-T-E-W-A-R-T, and Jashawn, J-A-S-H-A-W-N, Stewart, I'm sorry, it was Dirkwan Edwards, E-D-W-A-R-D-S, and Jashawn, J-A-S-H-A-W-N Stewart. Okay.
Chief, Dirk Juan was arrested in New Philadelphia by the U.S. Marshals, wanted on theft of firearms charge from Akron. Were those firearms believed to have been used in the incident?
So again, the investigation is active and ongoing. We're not able to provide any connection between the firearms that were recovered and this particular shooting, but our investigators are working carefully. Obviously, BCI has those firearms, and other ballistic information is testing all of those.
Can you speak to the status of any victims who may remain hospitalized?
So at the onset of this press conference, I did report that there were two adults, a male and a female, who remained hospitalized, and they were fortunately released yesterday from local hospitals. So again, we do wish them very well in their recovery. So everyone, obviously with the exception of the life that was lost, everyone that sustained gunshot wounds and were injured have been released from local hospitals.
It might be a question more for Elliot, but I'll run it by you first. Is it difficult to figure out how many guns were fired? Did you ever get a number on that? And then when you have a charge of murder, is it difficult to prove a case if so many people are firing shots that that's the person who shot and killed the victim? Or does that matter? Because you can still prove murder without actually being the one who fired the fatal shot.
So I'll let Prosecutor Kolkovich respond to the evidentiary issues relative to the issue of murder. But again, the case investigation is active and ongoing. Our investigators are looking at forensic review of the ballistics, trying to determine the number of weapons that were used, but at this point, there's not additional information I can share, and I'll heed to Mr. Kolkovich to address the issue on murder.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go into strategy or complications with certain kinds of theories of cases. I'll just say that I appreciate Chief Sinopoli did invite our criminal chief as well as some of our senior prosecutors to the meeting yesterday to go over these charges. We were comfortable with the charges that were filed, and we will be presenting these to the grand jury soon. Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Maybe a better question for the Attorney General. We heard Attorney General Yost talk earlier today about the value in extracting DNA from shell casings. I wasn't sure, just wanted to clarify, was that something you were discussing in the abstract, or is that something that was useful in this case?
The investigation is ongoing, and I'm going to be very cautious about what I say. So in general, the DNA was important in this case in identifying leads. As to which leads, which defendants, and what weapons, I think that will need to come out in the prosecutor's case in chief in court.
Are you guys arresting any more suspects or planning on doing so, or is it done?
So again, the investigation continues. We don't necessarily want to exclude the possibility of other suspects in this case, but our investigators are confident there is no threat to our community.
Can you share more on who booked the Airbnb and if they were ever treated as a suspect?
So we have been able to confirm the person who did book the Airbnb, but again, to preserve the integrity of the investigation, our investigators did speak with a number of witnesses, and what information that person could provide, I'll leave it up to the investigative team.
That person's not charged? That's not one of the three?
No, the three individuals that were named were not part of the event organization.
Is it believed that all three had a part in pulling the trigger throughout the event?
So again, our team is looking at it, but they all are believed to be participants in this shooting incident. To what extent, that will certainly be an issue for Mr. Kolkovich to address once the cases make their way to trial.
Is the owner of the Airbnb going to get charged at all? Or have you guys talked to the owner of the Airbnb?
Yeah, so that is obviously a secondary issue. Our primary focus was really looking at the events of November 2nd that morning and those responsible for the shooting that occurred. Whether or not there's any additional charges, I can't speak to that issue currently.
Two questions. One is, for NIBIN to be at its most successful, these bullet casings would have to have been connected to another crime. Are these individuals that you know of connected to other crimes?
Well, the only individual that we're aware is a person of interest relates to Mr. Stewart, who was arrested following a vehicle pursuit, and he's also a person of interest in other crimes within the city of Akron. But to the extent, I really am not at liberty to provide any additional information as to what evidence was found and whether there was a connection with the shooting here on November 2nd.
Another question is, and maybe you can or cannot, or maybe the investigators can or cannot answer this. Is there any reason to believe that this was a targeted shooting, or that this was just something random?
So obviously the question of motive will be one that our investigators have looked at and will continue to look at, but at this point in time, there's no information obviously that we can share as to that issue.
Can you share a little more about your concern with state regulation of local oversight of short-term rentals?
So there's currently legislation being considered, Senate Bill 104 in Ohio, that would effectively strip local governments like townships in Bath the ability to regulate short-term rentals. We have been in contact with our state legislator, Bill Romer, and he is aware of our concerns and have asked him to oppose that legislation. But again, townships, because of our structure of government have limited authority to regulate short-term rentals, but we are going to be working with our county officials. We are a charter county within Summit, and they would have the ability to enact regulations that would provide both criminal and civil penalties.
There was a lot of footage that you guys had to go through, you know, cell phones, all that kind of stuff. And so we were just wondering, you know, did you guys use AI to do so? Was there any enhanced technology that you guys were able to get your hands on to help you go through that process?
Well, that was really a credit to the investigative team. Clearly, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation had both the resources and tools to be able to do that. But as to the specific forensic review that was done, I don't have any independent information on how that was conducted and whether AI played a part in that.
We'll take one last question.
Yes.
Chief, body cam on the scene, is an officer who said that they recovered 4 shell casings, 2 of which consisted with handguns, 2 of which are rifles. We have 3 arrests here. I understand this may fall under the ongoing investigation piece, but is it safe to say police believe the shooter is still at large?
I can't speak to that issue, and again, the investigation is ongoing. We're not going to exclude the possibility that others may involve, but I think we're, you know, the point at which we arrived today is a significant breakthrough in this case. And I really appreciate the work that's been done to get us to this point. But beyond that, I can't speak to whether or not there's any others who are part of this incident that occurred on November 2nd. Okay. Thank you very much for coming today.